Live on YouTube. Okay, we are live now. Okay. Good evening, folks. Welcome to GeekNight 92nd edition. And thank you so much for coming. Hope everyone are safe and sound at home. Okay, we'll get into today's topic. Today we have Vignesh and Avinash presenting on the topic improving developers' effectiveness with a developer portal. So this talk will be telling more about to mitigate the complexities faced by the engineering team. A centralized tool or a portal is needed to improve organizations and developers' effectiveness. One such tool is Backbase. So Backstage. So Backstage is an open source developer portal with a plugin architecture to help expose all infrastructure products in one place, offering cohesively. So with further no ado, let the okay speakers, you can take the stage.
All right.
Thanks.
So thank you, Satyan. So let's introduce myself first. So I'm Vignesh Velu. So I've been at the Thoughts for the past few years, and I have a 5-year experience in the software engineering. And my tech stack is basically I work on the tech stack with Java and Nodejs and AWS. So I'm very passionate about technology and always ready to learn anything new and implement them to solve the real world problems. So yeah, so let me give it to Avinash.
Yeah, thanks, Vignesh. So, hello all, I'm Avinash. I've been working in ThoughtWorks for around a year now. So, I've been in the software industry for more than 5.5 years. So, my interests are majorly towards full stack development, and recently I am have become more interested towards DevOps technologies as well. So, yeah, looking forward to have a good session with all you all. Thanks.
Right.
Over to you, Vignesh.
Yeah, I'll share my screen first.
Before we get started, so the folks who are watching this from YouTube, you can post your question box, which the speakers will be answering. Also, for folks who are attending in Zoom, you can use the Q&A box to post your questions. Thank you, folks.
All right. Hope you could see my screen.
Yes.
All right. Let's get started. So today, myself and my colleague Avinash are here to present on the topic improving developers' effectiveness with a developer portal. So basically, we're going to concentrate on an already available developer portal called Backstage. So we'll be talking about more into the this particular open source tool that we tried and found like it is very effective inside our project. So let's start now. So what is developer effectiveness? Like why do we like focus more on the developers effectiveness? So basically like why do we need a tool to make sure like the developer effectiveness is maintained so that the productivity of each and every developer is always high. So what does being effective mean? So as a developer, it is delivering the maximum value to your customers. So it is being able to apply your energy and innovation in the best ways towards the company's goal and effective environment. So what we provide, so the environment that we work should be very effective to make it easy to put useful, high quality software into production, and also to operate it so that the developers do not have to deal with unnecessary complexities, frivolous churn, or long delays. So freeing them to concentrate on value adding tasks. So this way, like if we give them more time or make them with information, give them information which helps them to declutter these complexities and actually concentrate on their day-to-day task will help them to think more on the solution and also come up with great ideas. So this is one of the good ways to of being making a place where the developer works effective. So in an organization, how do they look into such things? So organizations usually look for ways to measure a developer productivity. So the common anti-pattern, like how they measure a developer's effectiveness is to look at the lines of codes, the feature output they give, or on more they focus on trying to spot the underperforming developers. So will all these criteria will make a developer, make the organization to take decisions to make a developer environment effective? Absolutely not, because sometimes it works and sometimes it don't. So it is better to turn the conversation around to focus on how the organization is providing an effective engineering environment. It's like the organization has to provide such environment so that the developers who work in a particular tool or a particular technology ecosystem always feels like, okay, we have to come up with like the existing issues are solved and they have all the right information to do anything new and provide and deliver something good. So being productive actually motivates developers. So how does being productive makes motivates developers? So if they do have all the frictions, like if you want to develop or if you want to develop a particular service or deploy a particular service, new service into the existing ecosystem, so they don't have to go back and forth with the other developers or the other senior developers asking each and every question or for the standards or look out for other information which a new developer would often feel themselves like isolated when they don't know the answers for their questions. So how to make an environment frictionless? So this making it frictionless actually helps them to think creatively and bring out feasible solutions to whatever they work on. So how does this actually be possible? So how to make such environment possible? So if organizations don't do this, if they don't make an environment or the developer environment, an easy way or provide an environment where they get all their information, the best engineers will obviously lead their organization. There is no reason for a developer to work in an effective environment, in an ineffective environment. I mean, when lots of great innovative digital companies are looking to hire strong technical talent, yeah, obviously that happens when you don't find a productive place to work or motivating or helpful developers or all these environment factors actually matters when you want to be more effective. So uh, all these things have been faced by all the big companies which are already ruling over this tech arena. So one such company that I want to quote here is Spotify. So Spotify, as we all know, is a streaming company, a digital media services company, which provides online streaming of uh, the audio content to various countries and beyond regions. So it's all done because of the technology that they use. So how do they make it? So we know from the front, the user end, where like, okay, we have a Spotify app inside the website or a Spotify app in an application, and we just listen to the song and that's it done. So how do they manage all these technologies and how they manage within their developers? How it is done? So they actually went into research within their development team to make sure like what is happening and how to increase their developer effectiveness. They are already effective, but still they do want to make sure like all the pinpoints are uncovered, and they do for find ways to how to mitigate these challenges. So when they did a research among their engineers, they found out two key findings, which were the fragmentation in the internal tooling and poor discoverability. So what is fragmentation in the internal? So Spotify's internal infrastructure and tooling was built on a small isolated islands, leading to context switching. So as you know, an application is obviously like has a lot of microservices running in entire service, or which helps the UI to you know uh, bring the information to the front. So yeah, they have like a lot of microservices, and each and every microservice is developed by different teams, remains isolated, and it's very hard for them to context switch between these services and to get information about these services within the team, and also the poor discoverability. So if suppose you are a developer or a developer inside a Spotify, wants to know about a particular technical information of a microservice or how it works, and if they wanted to use any API out of the particular service and whom to contact, like it is really a hassle work to for him to get to the particular tech lead or go into the code base, look for the APIs or the input that he has to give and look for the information, the response that he has to use out of it. So yeah, so all these things are, the effort that he has to take to go to a code base, and yeah, he has to be technically savvy to make things work in a day or two. But obviously, it takes a lot of effort for them, since all these information, what they're trying to look, is not available in one particular environment. So to mitigate all these challenges, they developed an open source developer portal with a plugin architecture called Backstage. So all it does is like it acts as an interface. So Backstage is a one developer portal which acts as an interface to integrate many tools together. Like you have Jenkins, you have Kubernetes, you have Jira, like whatever developer tools that helps the developers to develop, deploy, and whatsoever, right from the whatever develop tools that they need for to make sure the development cycle is working good. So it all can be integrated into the system. So if suppose you want to know about information about a particular microservice, you have it in the Backstage. Once you integrate everything inside the Backstage, you will know like what kind of service it is, on what the code base it has been written, and what are the APIs that it is exposing, and what are the services that it's consuming. So everything will be in one place. So that way, like they came up with this developer portal called Backstage. So that way, they were able to significantly increase their developer effectiveness inside their technical ecosystem within Spotify. So that actually inspired us also to adopt this Backstage. So yeah, like I've already mentioned what is Backstage. So this was the internal tool that Spotify actually developed within their within their company in 2014, and they made it as an open source in 2020. So therein like there were a lot of contributions from open source community to this particular tool, and yeah, significantly it is being used by many of the even ThoughtWorks client to make sure like they have a centralized tool to manage and organize these infrastructure needs. So yeah, so Backstage is not such one tool that just helps the an infrastructure team or a developer. So it's more than that. So it's like an informational repository which has like all the uh, necessary information that a new a developer or a new QA or a new infrastructure consultant is onboarded into a team. So they want to know about information like what kind of architecture is being used in this particular application. Yeah, you have it there. There is a tech talks option where you could read the technical information about the particular app and you could know it. And if you're suppose a developer, you want to know about what is the standard of Java code or the boilerplate code that you want to deploy, and you want to like put that inside this the pipeline, the all these actions that you have to perform once it's being deployed or pushed into the GitHub. So everything can be like read from can be like they can learn from particular portals, since we have everything integrated within it. And also for the platform engineers, the infrastructure team. So an AWS developer, for example, they could even forecast and cost insights of like how much the AWS cost would actually come up for a particular service that they're consuming based on the use or based on whether it's not being used. So it's like it's like a central application that actually talks to other application via APIs. So that is why I mentioned it's a plugin based uh, application. Spotify is just Backstage is a plugin based plugin architecture based application. So that's how like it has been helpful to everybody inside an development team. So what are the problems that solve? So like as I mentioned, like if you're architecture, so you are new to the team. So how would what are the information that you would need? So as an architect, I won't particularly go into a rudimentary level of like how a particular boilerplate code is being written or what is being done. But I would like to know like know about like what is the services that talk to other services, and what are the external cloud infrastructure that's being deployed, and how things are being managed. So all these kind of informations can be listed. So how do we do it? So Backstage provides an option to model your ecosystem. Like you have a domain. So domain here is your application, and that system is the domain. Let's say you're part of an insurance domain, or you're part of a healthcare domain. So the domain whose application or a portal is a part of your domain, and inside that you have a lot of resources like your backend, the SQL, be it your components, or the component here is the services that runs the particular portal, and the services which exposes the API. So these are all part of that system. So that kind of modeling can be done inside Backstage, and also like documenting the ecosystem. So how would you like document it? Like drawing diagrams that would be easy for us to understand, or any developers who's been getting onboarded could easily understand. So all kind of like diagram could be derived when you give the necessary information out of it. So this is possible on a point of an architecture view. As a team developer, if suppose like I want to create a new API, or if suppose I want to introduce a new service for consuming the existing other services. So how would I know? So how would I know like this particular API needs such inputs or this type of data types? I mean, data types that being used by this particular API docs, and what is the response that this particular API gives back? So all these information will be like available in form of API docs. So this is also a part of a plugin. So it's a plugin called the API docs. When integrated with Backstage, we need to give the configuration values like where the actual Swagger YAML has been uploaded. Let's say like if you have a Nexus repository where your Swagger YAML has been uploaded after doing a successful build of your repo. So therein like we could consume that particular YAML and show an Swagger based UI look so that it will be easy for the developers who want to know about the particular source can read. So that is actually possible with API docs. So this is like one of the plugin already available inside Backstage. So this is a core plugin which is already developed and maintained by the Backstage team itself. So it is actually very helpful for any developers who wants to know about what a service actually exposes. And also, if you want to know about a feature, let's say like you want to create a new service inside a particular ecosystem or a Java code, but you have no idea like what kind of standards that the existing team is already using, what kind of versions or what kind of dependencies they need to do. Is it going to be a Spring Boot application or what kind of libraries that they default by default they want to use? What are the pre-commit hooks or the pre-push hooks they are already implemented into the existing repository? Like how to manage it. So it is really a hassle work if they're going to take each and every task and get contact with the other developers or the people like who already work on and getting back and forth with these information. So it is really a hassle work too. So here we Backstage actually has a plugin called templating engine, wherein like you could configure a golden path rule where you can select a repository with a boilerplate code, and with the help of a plugin called cookie cutter, you could actually have a configuration file separate, which takes the input, like this the name of the service, and also like once the cookie cutter will actually help you to build a new repository out of the existing boilerplate code and push it to the create a new repository into the GitHub. So it's all an automated way. So the efforts the effort needed by the developer will be minimized if this kind of like approach is used. And also there's also a way where you could actually write scripts to provision the infrastructure that is needed for this particular service to get deployed. Let's say you want to create a new pipeline inside your Jenkins to manage these GitHub actions, or if you want to deploy this in your existing Kubernetes cluster. So all these provisions can be written inside a YAML file. That usually the YAML file is the configuration file. Mostly the configuration, all the configuration files are written in YAML, which is being read by the Backstage. So it's all written there, and it could easily pick up each and every step and knows like where it has to deploy. So this is one of the other cool features Backstage comes up with. And next is the Backstage plugins. Now I would give it to my colleague Avinash to continue with the Backstage plugins. Yeah, over to you, Avinash.
Yeah, thanks, Vignesh. So, yeah, the biggest advantage of using Backstage, or biggest backbone that Backstage runs on, is the plugin. It's plug and play architecture, and also the wide range of plugins it provides. Like they have their own core plugins. Like for example, what Vignesh showed about the API schema definition, and also those are the core plugins that were developed by Backstage in Spotify itself. Likewise, there are also, say, for example, like how we have a Play Store for Android or App Store for iOS. Like there is a plugin market out there where we can find n number of plugins, like Jira, Kafka, and then Jenkins, Kubernetes. Most of the prominent technologies that we are using today in our projects, it readily comes as a plugin, and we can just install that plugin with just a few configurations suited to our application, and then we can have that architecture or the infrastructure visualization in our project, in our Backstage project itself. So Yeah, can you go to the next stage, the next slide? Yeah, so this is just a small screenshot of what the plugin market looks like. So this is just a small portion. We have a number of plugins out there. So like you could see plugins like AWS Lambda, Cost Insights, Firebase Functions, and also Cost Insights is like we could configure, you could install it and configure it to whichever cloud you're using, say GCP or AWS, and this will give you a neat representation of how your cost consumption of the cloud looks like, how is the trend, and you can derive various lot of statistics from it. So this is the just an example of how the market looks like. And yeah, next slide please. Yeah, so to like summarize or to give an overview of what and all we talked about, what problems it is solving and all those stuff. So on the whole, the core Backstage features are that has been listed down here. Say the first and foremost thing is the plugin based platform. You don't need to like necessarily write several bunches of codes and classes, all those stuff. Most of the things that we are looking out there is readily available as a plugin. And if you want, if something is new to your project, and if you want that available as a plugin, so that other teams in your project can implement those in their own developer portals, you can also contribute to develop a plugin to the Backstage plugin market. So everything becomes so easy and plug and play with just configurations written in YAML files. So that is one thing. And yeah, I talked about the plugin marketplace and the flexible UI. The even the UI also, it's based out of React, and it already comes up with a neat UI for the core plugins and core features that they offer, and you can easily extend it to our own functionalities and all those things. So it has a very flexible UI. And yeah, about the starter kit templates, Vignesh talked about how we can have templates of every kind of programming language or technology that we use in our project, say Java or a Python or a Golang, whatever. So we could have some certain standards defined at a project level, like these are other dependencies. This is the project structure, folder structure, and libraries and all. So those could be available as a plugin, as a template, and then we could simply, with a click of, with a few clicks, we can create it, have that template running as a project in our own repository, Jenkins, Kubernetes cluster, and all. And tech docs, yeah, so we can have the technical documentations of all the repositories in just one place. And software catalog is nothing but it gives an accommodated overview of what the entire services or the projects that you use in your project. List down, see all the repositories belonging to different teams and what technology stack it is. So it will typically is a catalog of what and all the entire services or the project repositories that you have in your system. So that is about the Backstage features, and I think we can move to the demo. Is it right, Nish?
Yes, I saw a question from Ramachandran, like how easy it is to write a custom plugins.
Okay,
So I would like to answer on that. So
sure.
yeah, a Backstage architecture is basically like Backstage frontend is developed using React framework, and the backend is written on top of Express.js. So it's everything. It's a JavaScript based library, and also most of the codes and the backend codes written in TypeScript. So if they do provide us a scaffolding or a boilerplate code on how to create a plugin, so there are some standards that we have to follow while doing it. And as we create a normal JavaScript a library, the same way like we'll be creating a plugin for the Backstage. And only thing like the difference or the main confusion that we have to look is the standard that Backstage is already giving to make sure we configure the necessary input for the creation alone. So that alone actually differs. Other than that, it's like creating a library inside a JavaScript. So it's more like it. Hope this answers.
Okay, can move on, right? I think we have the metrics. Yeah. Okay. So about the metrics, like say if we have planned to implement a developer portal with the help of Backstage in our project, how do we evaluate it has improved our effectiveness? How do we know that it is valuable? How do we measure that so that we can keep on adding more changes or more features, or whether to take any action within the project, say architecture level or a standards level decision. For all these, we would need some sort of metrics to measure upon. So yeah, you can go to the next slide. Yeah. So one such thing is the developer onboarding time. So when a new joinee or joins a project, there will be several unknowns to the developer. They will be put into a kind of a version of the project, and they won't know. They won't know about the architecture, what tech stack is followed, where are the repositories, how is the orchestration involved, container orchestration involved, like where to find the Kubernetes, how to access the Kubernetes clusters. There will be several unknowns. They might need to refer several documents and all those stuffs. And there like more time will be spent on onboarding them through the help of uh, personal sessions and all that stuff. Obviously, the sessions should be there, but with the help of Backstage, it could drastically reduce the volume of it, the time needed for it. So one such example was Spotify reported that with the help of Backstage, their onboarding time was reduced by around 55%. So that is one metric we could measure upon. And then uh, development frequency, like how fast are we able to deliver production ready code to the to the production environment. Say the developer has to hop on between multiple tools to look one information here and reach out. Say for example, to know about some API, they need to reach out to the respective team or respective another developer and all those stuffs, and they need to switch to multiple tools to commit, to push, and then monitor and deploy. So if we reduce the switching overall, there will be more focus to develop the actual code. So in that way, the development frequency will increase. So that is one thing. And then the mean time to recovery. Say for example, when we have deployed something and then the something has gone wrong, and then we would need to go figure out what has happened, like whether the instance was down or the container is not running, it's throwing some errors, or is there a error in the logs at the application runtime level. So all those things will be scattered, and we need to go each and every location to pinpoint and find out what is the root cause. But with Backstage, with everything in one single place, with mm, just few navigations, a few tabs, you could easily figure out what was the root cause. Say, for example, the Kubernetes cluster was not up and running. So you could easily find that in Backstage itself, since Kubernetes is integrated. So your mean time to recovery becomes faster. So that is one thing. And then the fragmentation of system. So uh, in a microservices world, we might have different tech stacks followed within different projects or different microservices. One microservices will have one tech stack, another will have completely different one. So uh, fragmentation, we would with this metric, we Backstage would give us a overview of how many fragments are there in our project, like how many languages, what are the framework versions, and all those various sort of measurements regarding the quality of projects, the code that we have written. So that this one is about the fragmented overview of the system. And then, yeah, this is something similar to what we earlier talked about, the context switching. If we reduce the number of switching between different contexts for a developer, say different tools, from the if you are looking at a life cycle of putting a commit, putting a change onto the production, we might hop on to different, we might need to hop on to different tools. So if we make the developers stay in their one single zone, then the context switching reduces, and obviously the development becomes much more faster. So yeah, all these things could be measured, and then we could take decisions accordingly, and then improve the developer effectiveness much more. So yeah, that's it. And yeah, I will. We will walk you through a small demo. One is from the Backstage own demo itself, and then another one is something that we have implemented, a minimal implementation of the feature that it offers. So this is the landing page of Backstage Developer Portal. So this is the software catalog, which will list down all the repositories that we have, and or also the microservices that we have. So, for example, if we take each and every, if you look at each and every service, it will list the system that it belongs to, and the team belongs to. You could see there are different teams: Team A, Team B, Team C, and all the stuff. And whether it is a library, front-end service, or a back-end service, and all those sorts of information. Say, if I go to Team A, it will list the members of the team and how many services are they owning, like that. So this will really help the people who are managing the project at a very looking at it from a high level, and then you'll get a idea of how many team members, how many projects are there in the entire organization. And then before that, before one thing, the authentication. How do we log into the system? Backstage already provides one of the commonly used authentication providers, like in our project. Say, for example, GitHub, GitLab, the same ones that you use in your project to log into every day. You can easily integrate those credentials here, and then with those same credentials, you can log into the Backstage. So there is no need of setting up a new account specifically for Backstage and all. So that is about authentication. And then, like, yeah, about the before going into this service level, we can look at the APIs. So we saw in a small screenshot earlier about the API definition of a microservice, a Swagger API documentation. So this will help us to list down the APIs exposed by this particular service. For example, this is something imaginary application called Pet Store, and the APIs offered by this application are listed here, like what kind of API, the request parameters, and then the response and all. So yeah, that is about the API, Swagger API documentation. It accepts different kinds of formats as well, not only just Swagger. There are also different kind of API documentations. It will accept those kind of extensions as well. And yeah, we could see, like, we could go into Pet Store. So if you see here, this will give a basic information about the repository, the owner and all. And the one interesting thing here is how this is the component Pet Store. This this is the UI microservice, and it is here it says that Team C owns it, and then these are all the backend APIs: Pet Store, Streetlights, Hello World, and these APIs are consumed by this Pet Store. So this will give us the overview of how the dependencies between the microservices looks like. So that is one such example. And yeah, if you see, if you want to have technical documentations integrated into each and every services, you can have it in a single place itself. So if you view the tech docs here, you could see the entire documentation is listed over here. So you don't need to jump into separate uh, a Google document or whatsoever. Everything is closely related and available in a central place. So these were some of the features. And yeah, one thing is this is the Kubernetes plugin that we are talking about. This is a screenshot we earlier took when we were trying to experiment with it. So you could see here, this is the error reporting section of the Kubernetes cluster. If there are any errors with the any cluster or pods that are available, it will be shown up here. And also the clusters in each environment that we have. Say development environment, we would have a deployment and QA environment, certification environment, along with the uh, performance of the clusters, how much CPU consumption, memory consumption, replicas, and all those stuff. So this is one such example. Likewise, we can integrate more and more into this, like Jira, your Kafka clusters, your Jenkins. You can even see the status of your builds in the CI/CD section, and then you can even re-trigger them from here, and you can do almost everything that you do out there. So that is one thing. And the final part is the interesting part, the templating engine. So we have a sample Spring Boot template available over here. So if I so say for example, I newly joined the project, I don't know whether we are using Maven or Gradle within the project. What sorts of Gradle default dependencies, or what sort of folder structure, anything like that. I can simply come over here, and then there is a template available which is standardized, and then I can just fill in the names. Say for example, project. And then the owner name ABC, and then like this I can fill up the basic information about the project that we need, and it will once I click on create, within few seconds I will have my uh, repository created and published to my to our GitHub or GitLab or whatever. So for demo here we used okay, sorry, there was some sort of a problem. Yeah, actually, so this should have gone successfully, and then what would have done is I already have an example here. So uh, this is my own GitHub repository, and I have provided the authentication tokens and all in the configuration with my Backstage application. So it will recognize that, and then it will connect to this my account, and then it will automatically publish the repository based on the information that I have given. So if you could go inside, you could have seen the places where I gave my own name, that would have got replaced over here. So that is I mean, that is how the plugin works. As we said before, there is a plugin called Cookie Cutter, which will have placeholders all over the standard template product that we have, and depending on what fields or input that we give, it will replace everything, and then it will create a project for you. So yeah, that was about it. And I think we are kind of done. Thanks a lot. So if you have any questions, please ask us.
I could see a question in the live chat. Like there's a question where can it help identify relationship between APIs automatically? Yes, it is possible, because once we have the standard Backstage integrated with your technical ecosystem, we make sure like every time when a new service has been created, we make sure like the configuration inside it has all these dependencies listed inside a YAML file. So we basically read this YAML file from the Backstage would hit this particular YAML file every time when it tries to update it. So in that way, like it can find the relationship between these API automatically. So somehow, like when we are creating the service, at that time of the creation, we would give these relationship. At the start. So we don't necessarily automate, because automating it and getting the actual information of like whether this particular API is consuming or not, it depends, because we won't know if it's it's all if it is always hitting that particular API, because every service is standalone, and each and every service can consume or provide services to each and other ones without any restriction. So it can be done automatically, but we could actually make this thing work while giving a configuration while we create the service. So that way, we could actually find the relationship. Cool. Anything else?
Yeah. Meanwhile, folks, there's a feedback form attached to this Zoom webinar. Once you are closing the webinar, there will be a feedback form there. Kindly fill it out. So it will be really helpful for us to improve. And also this video is parallelly streamed in YouTube, and it will be available on our YouTube channel. Please do like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. And please do share it in your circle. Yeah.